Unit 7, Lesson 5, we're going to be using a tape diagram. It's Miss Billman here, and we're going to dive right in. When I'm talking about a tape diagram, as you should have seen in class, it doesn't actually involve tape, but you'll see how it's set up. So to make glowing green paint, blue and yellow paint are mixed together at a ratio of 3 to 4. So I'm going to draw this out. There's kind of, I guess you could think of as a piece of tape, but there's blue, and I'm going to split that into 3 because it's a ratio of 3 to 4. And then there's yellow, and this one's going to have 4. I'm going to try and line up as closely as I can. It's not perfect. If I wanted to, I could get a ruler out and do that. But if you notice, it's 3 to 4. So how much yellow paint should a store mix with 15 liters of blue paint to make glowing green paint? So if I'm still looking at my ratio of 3 to 4, I have 15 to split up in between 3, right? Because blue has 3 parts. So it's 5, 5, 5. Everything is even with the yellow, so it's still 5. So I label those 5, 5, 5, and 5, which, if I add those all together, that equals 20. So it'd be 20 liters of yellow paint to mix together with blue to make glowing green. Number 2. How much blue paint and yellow paint should a store mix to make 98 gallons of glowing green? Again, I draw my tape diagram of 3 and 4 for the yellow. This time I can't just assign 98 to the blue and say 98 divided by 3. Well, that's not how this one works. So in this one, I have 98, and it has to be really split up, and I have to think, okay, so I have this 98, somehow I add all of these together and I'm going to get 98, but how do I go about doing that? Well, I could be thinking, well, maybe if I divide, that could work. Maybe if I subtract, well, I could do that too. But I would personally divide, and putting 7 into 9, 1, there's a 2, 28, 14. So each of these is going to be 14. I could say, well, 98 minus 7, I'm going to get 14. So each of those is 14. Still, again, using my tape diagram of a ratio of 3 to 4. I'm just assigning a larger number to each section. Now when I multiply that, 14 multiplied by 3, that gives me a total of 42 gallons of blue, and then I could either add 14 to that 42 or do 14 multiplied by 4 and get a total of 56 gallons. So I have 42 gallons of blue paint and 56 gallons of yellow paint. Sometimes it's nice to have a tape diagram to really visualize these ratios. I like to model during math because I'm a visual learner, and especially when we get to ones with fractions. Number 3, how much blue paint should a store mix with 17 quarts of yellow paint to make glowing green paint? Now, again, I'm still setting it up. 3 for the blue, 4 for yellow. Now, if I was feeling maybe a little uncomfortable with a tape diagram, I could use my unit rate. That's absolutely, but it's really important that you try new things. It's not always going to be really straightforward, but this is another tool to add to your toolbox. So I have 17 quarts of yellow paint. Well, I can write 17 over 4 in each of these. Why? Because there are 4, a ratio of 3 to 4, and I need a total of 17 divided between each one. So 17 divided by 4, 17 divided by 4, and what I'm going to do next is take that 17 fourths, and I'm going to multiply that by 3. 3 times 7, 21, carry the 2, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 51. So I get 51 fourths of blue, and I could even take that lower and say 4 goes into 5 once, there's 1 left over, 4 goes into 11 2 times, with 3 left over, and I have 12 3/4 gallons of blue paint to mix with 17 quarts of yellow paint. Number 4. How much blue and yellow paint should a store mix to make 50 gallons of glowing green paint? I'm going to set it up pretty similar to what we saw in number 2, where I have this ratio still of 3-4, and I'm still labeling these B and Y. So I have 50 gallons. I have to think between these 7 places, I have 50 gallons. Well, I could do 50 divided by 7, or I could write it out as 50 over 7, because there are 7 spots, and each of them would be 50, and that's 50 over 7 is just like writing a ratio, or it could be division. So for each of these, what I would then do is I would add it together. So 50 over 7 multiplied by 3 for blue, so it's 150 over 7, and 50 multiplied by 4, which would be 200 over 7. I could leave them in those massive improper fractions, but do try and work with going to a mixed number. So total for blue, I have 21 3/7 gallons of paint. And then for my yellow, if this was 200 divided by 7, so 2 goes into 20 twice, and that gives me 14. I have 6 left over. 7, oh, sorry, so that 7 goes into 20 twice. 7 goes into 60, well, it can't be 9 times, but it's 8, and that's 56 with 4 left over for an answer of 28 4/7 gallons of paint. Well, for yellow, that is. And I could always add it together and double check my answer. Never be afraid to try something new. You might actually find out you really love tape diagrams.